So when I was struggling with anxiety, I was getting physical symptoms that made me go to the doctor every other day. I went every time and got a whole bunch of tests. And the doctors were like, we'll be very thorough. We'll find out what's happening. Only to get cleared, to say everything was fine. This happened so many times where the doctor said, stop coming. Just don't come. Go talk to somebody. And then I would go to therapists and they would try to find childhood trauma. They were trying to do all these things. I was getting physical symptoms. I was getting these intrusive thoughts. What if it's this? What if it's that? Each day, I was coming up with new diagnoses. Oh, I'm going with this. Oh, I'm struggling with this. Oh, what if it's this? And literally my parents and my family was like, you need to stop this. Like, you need to stop focusing on this. You're fine. Everything is good. Everything is clear. And what happened was that once I started focusing on the recovery journey, all these things went away. And the truth is that I've helped so many people around the world that I see so many different types of issues that people experience. But the key is that recovery really boils down to 5 or 6 things. It really is. It sounds almost too simple, but it's very clear. And I'm going to break it down in this video. I'm going to show you exactly what to do. Now, the first thing is something I always say is, number one, understand what's even happening. And that's the thing, right? So many people have so many issues trying to understand what are they experiencing? Why are they experiencing this? Are they getting these palpitations because their heart is defective? Are they getting these tremors because they have Parkinson's? Are they having breathlessness issues because they have COVID or something? They can start thinking all these what if scenarios. And what happens is that they start jumping from one scenario to another. Now, here's the thing. In order to fix this problem, you really have to understand what's happening. Why are you experiencing these symptoms? One of the best ways I know if someone's on the recovery journey or not is simply just asking them, why are you experiencing this? And then they will give me their answer. And from there, I can know right away. And what happens oftentimes is when I meet people, I'm like, well, what have you tried to do to fix this? And they're like, I've tried yoga, I've tried meditation, I've tried breathing techniques, I've tried ERP, I've tried CBT, I've tried ACT. I mean, they try anything and everything. And then what happens is that I ask them, why do you think this hasn't worked? Why is this even happening? And they can't give me a straight answer. I don't know why this is happening. Maybe it's because I'm super unique. Maybe because my anxiety is just more intense than everybody else's. And what happens is that the reason why these things don't work is, number one, they don't know what's happening. And it's very important to know. So what is happening? Why are you experiencing this? Are you experiencing this because you have some sort of childhood trauma that hasn't been resolved? Are you dealing with this because there's some subconscious thing in the mind? Is it because whatever you're going through hasn't been diagnosed? You have something so rare that no one else can find it, and by the time they find it with you, it's going to be too late? It's none of those things. The reason why you're experiencing anxiety is very clear, which is your nervous system has become very sensitive. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, a lot of people end up starting off their anxiety cycle with a panic attack. Now, this isn't always the case, but for a lot of people, they experience a panic attack, and at that time, they don't even know what they were experiencing was a panic attack. And so what happens is that if you are in a stressful situation, no matter what that is, whether it's perceived threat or real threats, well then, your nervous system becomes more sensitive because it's looking at threats. Now, what happens is that over time, if you do that for a long period of time, your nervous system becomes sensitive. Now it starts thinking of everything as a threat. And now that's the issue. So the number one thing to really understand is, do you know what's happening? Do you understand why this is even happening? Now, once you understand what's happening, well, the solution becomes pretty automatic. You start understanding, why is this happening? Why are you experiencing physical symptoms? Why are you getting intrusive thoughts? Why are you getting feelings of unreality? You start understanding why it's there. And the second point is this, which is once you understand what's happening, you have to focus on the solution. And the thing is this, anxiety recovery is about consistency. It's not about doing too many different things. What often happens is when people are experiencing anxiety, they're trying to do a little bit of this, they're trying to do a little bit of that, they're trying to do some supplementation, they're trying to do this specific thing, that specific thing, and they try to do all these different things. And it does nothing except it just breaks their bank because they've tried so many different things. The thing is that recovery is actually very different. Recovery is about consistency. And so the consistency aspect is the fact that once you understand what's happening, the focus needs to be on long-term freedom. What happens is when people are experiencing anxiety, they are always trying to feel better in the moment. Think about it. You're probably even watching this video to feel better, right? Oh man, Shaan went through this. He was able to come out. There's all these success stories on his channel. Okay, they can come out. Okay, I feel good. Okay, maybe this is possible. But you're still using these things as coping crutches, right? The focus on recovery is the opposite. You have to focus on long-term freedom. You have to understand, I didn't even have this kind of stuff when I was focused on recovery. Yet I'll manage to get better. So many other people manage to get better as well. So the key is that you have to focus on long-term freedom, and the response to your anxiety is what matters. Meaning you have to focus not on avoiding the anxiety, but experiencing the anxiety, but responding to it correctly, right? So let's break it down. Number one, do you know what's happening? And if you don't, that's okay, because at least you can focus on the right steps right away, right? First of all, you can understand what's really happening. And there's a lot of great resources out there that I'd recommend. I mean, this channel I think is really great. There's books by Claire Weeks, Hope and Help for Your Nerves, Barry McDonough, The Dare Response, Paul David at Last in Life. There's a lot of people that really just go into breaking down why are you experiencing these symptoms. Once you understand that, then the focus is on, okay, well, what do I do? Once you understand what to do, then it's about consistency. Well, then that leads to the third thing, which is something called setbacks. Now, setbacks is this idea that once you start making progress, once you actually start getting better, well, recovery is not linear. And what I mean by that, it's not like every day gets better and better. Just like anybody else. People have good days, people have bad days, right? You have a good day, you have a bad day. You had that before anxiety. During the anxiety cycle, it's exactly the same. Some days will be good, some days won't be so good. But what happens is that when people have bad days, what ends up happening is that they end up sabotaging their recovery. They have one bad day or they have a bad week, and all their symptoms come back and they think, oh no, I'm falling back into the cycle. Oh my God, something's wrong. And then they go back to old habits. And what happens is that they end up spinning their tires. They end up going nowhere. So it's really important to understand how to respond to setbacks, how to deal with setbacks. And one of the biggest things I found is just recognize that they exist. If you recognize they exist, the shock value of setbacks won't hit you that much. You'll understand, oh, it's setbacks. Oh, it's part of the journey. It doesn't mean I'm doing anything wrong. It's just, oh, it's part of the journey. And then once you understand setbacks, then it's about gaining your core confidence, right? How much has anxiety taken away from you? What are some things you used to be able to do carelessly and fearlessly that all of a sudden now you have to think about, oh my God, am I going to be able to do that? I remember I used to enjoy going to grocery stores. Like I enjoyed it. It was kind of therapeutic for me. And then when I had anxiety, even just going to a grocery store scared me. The lights, the fluorescent lights, the high ceilings, the amount of people, just the space, it was too scary for me. I couldn't even leave my house. So as you're focusing on understanding the mechanics, responding correctly and consistently, dealing with setbacks, well then now it's about gaining your core confidence back. Now your confidence slowly comes back. Certain things that scared you, they don't scare you as much. Certain things that don't scare you as much stop scaring you at all. And now this is where elements of you start coming back. And now you start coming back to living normally. And then after you deal with that, well then it's just making sure you don't fall back into the cycle. And for that, you have to take a really quick audit of why did you even fall into the cycle in the first place? What happened? A lot of the reasons why I find people fall into the cycle is they just didn't know what was happening. They weren't educated on anxiety. And maybe they had some character flaws that made them fall back and fall into the cycle. Maybe they were type A. Maybe they were a constant worrier. Then it's about adjusting these things. Maybe they weren't eating right. Whatever it is. Then it's about focusing on, okay, coming out of the cycle. And that's it. That's really it. It's so simple, you know? And there's people out there that are recovering, that are going through anxiety, that are experiencing anxiety. And then there's some people that are like, I don't know if I'm doing this right. This is going to be me forever. Why is this happening? Oh, it's a chemical imbalance. Is it even real? Is this even real? Is recovery even possible? You know, and there's people that are going so many different directions. I want you to understand something. The people that are recovering from anxiety are experiencing just as much anxiety as you. Yeah? People that are recovering from anxiety aren't recovering in the absence of anxiety. The absence of anxiety happens later. So I want you to understand, if you're experiencing anxiety, I want you to know people that are recovering, people that I help personally, day to day, in the mentorship, they're experiencing anxiety too. They are. Except their anxiety is a means to an end. Them experiencing anxiety means long-term they won't. But if you're constantly coping and managing, you still don't know what's happening. You're constantly trying to avoid certain things, thinking that will help your anxiety. You will build your whole life around anxiety and build a lifestyle in anxiety instead of just fixing the problem. Well, then there's no means to an end. And this is how people cope and manage. And this is great for people that want to sell you things on anxiety recovery, right? Try this supplement, try this, CBD oils, try this, try that, all these different things. You become a lifelong customer. So the goal is, I really challenge you. Recovery is very simple. It's just focus on a few principles. Now, it's not easy, and it's an up and down affair, and there's a lot of factors around that, right? So I've always found, get a guide. Find somebody who knows what's happening and guide you step by step, because this is a marathon. It's not a sprint. It's not like you do this for a couple of days and it's gone. Recovery happens in layers. And so what I would challenge you is, maybe one of the first things to focus on is seeing other recovery stories. One of the first things that's pretty important to recognize is to normalize that recovery is totally possible. And so if you want to know more, I'll put a link down below. I'll put in the comment section, I'll put in the description of just success stories. People that I've personally helped. People that have reached out to me, who have recovered, who want to share their story to inspire others. Most of these people were people in my mentorship, and they're back to living. They're not on these videos, they're not on different things, they're just living their lives. People are getting married, people are traveling the world, people are getting amazing jobs, people are like doing all these things that when I had met them, they couldn't do anything. They couldn't even leave their house. But they're back to living. And they're gone, they're having a good time. And that could be you too. And so what I would challenge you is check out the success stories, check out their recovery stories, see how recovery is like. A lot of just understanding of what's happening will clarify things on its own. So check the link out down below, and I'll see you in the next one.